I just want to ask my audience now, how many here did Irish up to the Leaving Cert? Okay, almost everyone. How many of you can speak Irish today? Fluently? Which is a big question. Okay. Can I ask you, did you come out of school fluent? Did you get to that proficiency in school?
I think I thought I was fluent, but I didn't know that I had a lot to learn. I did Irish in university then, so I learned how little I knew.
All right. And were you enthusiastic about Irish when you were in school?
Yeah, I was really enthusiastic. I wasn't in a Gael school, and my parents didn't speak Irish, but they were really positive about the language. So they were happy to send me to the Gaeltacht every summer. And since then, like, is scríbhneoir mé? Bhí me scríb trí Gaeilge agus trí Bhéarla. So Irish is part of my working life. Some of my closest relationships are through Irish. Like, I'm one of those people who lives their life very closely with the Irish language.
Right. So, anybody else fluent? You're not?
I'm not fluent.
Okay.
But I think that there's a lot of people that are sentimental about the Irish language, and they should be obviously entitled to learn it. But as someone that's not, I don't think it should be forced on the rest of us. I know in my class for the Leaving Cert, it was very utilitarian. Your 6 best subjects are what counts. You drop it, you put it on the back burner. To be honest, I think most people can say, honestly, that they probably weren't bothered to learn it fully. I don't think it's a case of changing the curriculum, changing poetry to more oral classes. It's just that people know it's not as useful as, say, English to French students might be. I want to go to my panel now, and we've been joined by columnist Brenda Power and Julian de Span, General Secretary of Conradh na Gaeilge. Brenda, you say we should scrap compulsory Irish.
I say we should scrap compulsory Irish for the state exams, yeah, absolutely. I don't know how anybody could contend that this way of teaching Irish and making it compulsory at junior cert and leaving cert level has been a success. If you measure the success of a language, which I think is a pretty reasonable way to go about it, by the ability of people to speak it, and that should be your objective after 13 or 14 years of tuition, I would say very few. I mean, I think this lady's example is pretty typical, that if you want to learn to speak Irish, you have to go outside of the school system. And that, by any metric, Katie, is a failure of the tuition of Irish. If you have a student for 14 years and you're teaching them a language, and when they leave your tuition, they could not hold a 5-minute conversation with a Gaeilgeoir, 5 minutes, basic conversation, without having rehearsed it or learned chunks of sentences, then that is a failure.
Julian, to spot.
What I'd say very much, in Gormagat for the opportunity to be here, but what I'd say fundamentally is that we disagree with what Brenda has to say on some parts of it.
Can we just stay to the compulsory thing for a moment? Because that is something that's a big bugbear for a lot of people in second level.
Yeah, I disagree with that, because we only have to look to our neighbours in the UK when they got rid of language learning being compulsory there, and the numbers went over a cliff in terms of numbers that were learning languages. And worse than that, it's actually the upper and middle class schools that continued teaching the languages because they saw the importance of language learning. So I don't think we should go down that road, because it socially divides, you know, the different students in schools. But when it comes to learning Irish in the schools, if it was to be a choice subject, for example, then it would be up against the other subjects. So, example, if you wanted to be a doctor in the future and biology and Irish were in the same category, well, then you wouldn't be able to learn Irish. So we think that Irish, English and maths are the fundamentals that everybody should learn. But I think with this conversation always gets back to the compulsion, rather than talking about the method of Irish in the education system. That's where I agree with Brenda an awful lot what she had to say on RTE on the website earlier on. I think we need to overhaul the way we teach Irish, and that's something that is promised by this government that's in the programme for government to have a policy for the teaching of Irish from preschool the whole way up to 3rd level. Hasn't been acted on yet, and that's something that Fianna Fáil promised us in 2020 and we're looking for now. And what can I just say what that would actually be? Say if you were to base that on the European Common Framework of Reference to Learning Language, and don't worry about the title, it's all about, you know, that you start off at A1, you move to A2, it's about the skills, having the skills to be able to use the language. And this is very much what I heard from Brenda and I heard from the audience as well. When it comes to this, having the ability to actually be able to, I suppose, converse in the language, that would be the ideal. And if you were to do that in the European framework, framework, if you were to tell me that you were a B2, for example, I'd know I could have a conversation with you. If you were to tell me you got a H2 in the Leaving Cert, I wouldn't have a clue whether you'd be able to converse with me or not. So we need a new approach, and we need that from the whole way from preschool, the whole way up to third level. And that's something this government has promised, has not yet acted upon. And that's what we would like to see them do now.
Sorry, can I just come back on something you said there, Julian? I don't think it's a fair comparison to make that comparison with the English system, whereby when languages cease to be compulsory, that people stop taking them. You're talking then about European languages. And yes, I accept completely that the better funded schools and the parents, the well-heeled parents, were inclined to send their children to French or German or whatever Spanish classes, because those languages are living, useful languages. You cannot make that comparison with Irish, because the reason people want exemptions and seek exemptions at the level that they do is because, unfortunately, they see no advantage to them.
But do you accept Julian Despon's argument there that if you go down that road, if you lift the compulsion element, if you say, OK, you decide whether you want to do it, that Irish learning will go off a cliff?
But what's the success that we can point to now? And in the method that's being taught now, they can't speak it. And what use is a language that you can't
that's
speak?
Exactly what I'm saying, that we need to change the method of teaching. Don't throw the baby out of the bathwater. We're talking about changing the way that we teach Irish. Other thing we could do, for example, as well, is increase dramatically the amount of Irish medium education we have in this country. This is 100 years on from the foundation of the state in the south, and we're at 8% of students attending Irish medium education in primary school, 4% in second level school, and less than 1% in third level. So that's a disgrace when you think about it. 100. The interest in the public, we know from the ESRI, is that about 25% of parents would send their children to Irish medium education if it was in their locality. That's not available. That's a disgrace 100 years on that we're at such low levels, because there's never been any new Gael school that's been set up. It has to be said as well. It's been set up because of the community fought for that school.
Why though has that not translated? Because we have hundreds of Gael schools now, some great schools all over the country, all over the cities. Why has that not translated into more fluency in
well, you'd be surprised, Katie, with the amount of Irish that's actually been used in the community. Like, for example, the pop-up Gaeltacht phenomenon that has happened all around the world, where somebody just sends out a bat signal, we're having a pop-up Gaeltacht in this pub at this time, and you'll see people will turn up from all types of backgrounds that have Irish and looking for the opportunity to use the language.
OK. I just want to get a couple of social comments in here. Mr. Fab on X says, a country without a language is a country without a soul. How language is taught in schools is the real issue. I think that's, we're all at idem on that. Badri on X says, I'm originally from India, and my children call Ireland home. Irish should be made compulsory, or should be kept compulsory, I suppose. In India, it was mandatory to learn Hindi and the local state language. And Garode says, if Irish was made compulsory in order to buy the latest model of iPad or tablet, fluency in the language would skyrocket in no time.